Hello, everyone. My name is Harvey Brownstone, and today I'm delighted to welcome a veteran actress and comedienne who won our attention in movies like Malcolm X, What's Love Got to Do with It, Die Hard with a Vengeance, and How Stella Got Her Groove Back. She's guest starred in countless TV series such as The Women of Brewster Place, New Attitude, Law and Order, and Shameless. She was one of the first comedians of color to perform at the Juste pour Rire Comedy Festival in Montreal with the late John Candy and Ed Begley Jr. Her stand-up comedy performance at the world-famous Apollo Theater in New York led to the creation of the popular series Showtime at the Apollo. She's received numerous awards for her contributions to theater and the arts and was inducted into the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame in 1998. And if that weren't enough, she was named in Essence magazine's 25th anniversary issue as one of the 200 African-American women to have changed the world. I'm honored to welcome Phyllis Yvonne Stickney to our show. Phyllis, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, Harvey, thank you so much for asking me. Thank you for including me in your wonderful lineup of people that you've had on your show. I'm very grateful.
Phyllis, you are an absolute powerhouse in the entertainment industry. You've broken down so many barriers and opened countless doors, especially for Black women. Did you ever think, when you were teaching drama as an associate in the theater department at the University of Delaware, that you'd ever have the career you've had?
There was no way I thought that I would have anything near the career that I've been blessed to have as an on-camera talent. I always thought I'd be working behind the scenes because I was interested in production. I was interested in instruction, but I never thought I'd be an on-air camera person or on-air person, and never thought I'd really be an actor. No, I had no idea.
When you left teaching and went to New York as an aspiring actress, you worked with playwright and director Roger Furman at the New Heritage Repertory Theater, now the Heritage Theater Group. It's the oldest nonprofit Black theater company in New York City. Was Roger Furman one of your most important mentors?
I would say he is probably one of the most important that, outside of my family members, which were definitely inspirations and supporters. But Roger Furman was also the muse of Dinah Sands. And so the stories that he would share with me about the time that he spent with Diana and what that was like. And then one night, actually with tears in his eyes, he said, I looked at him, I said, what, Roger, what did I do? What did I do? And he says, you remind me of Dinah. Dinah was just here. And that was probably one of the best compliments that I could have given, could have received or been given. Roger Furman was absolutely probably, if I could say single-handedly, because he gave me his stage. He gave me the opportunity for 5 years to work in whatever production he had on that stage at New Heritage. He found a role for me. It was, I was his ingenue. And so then went on to be his leading lady ultimately. And so I credit him for me being able to he gave me his stage. He allowed me the opportunity to try, to fail, to just express and to see what it was to be an actor and what it was to embody and develop characters. So Roger Furman Obaye, he is absolutely one of the most important people in my past.
I want to acknowledge that you won the Audelco Award for your performance in Monsieur Baptiste, the Con Man, written by Roger Furman. I'm looking forward to the day, Phyllis, when the Audelco Awards are televised, just like the Tonys and the Oscars, aren't you?
That's one of the things I plan to do. You're speaking it. You're speaking it because that's one of the things that I want to do. Don't you guys out there try to do it for me. You can come on and be producer with me. But I've always said that because most of the Black actors or the actors of color that we know, Samuel Jackson, Denzel Washington, Wesley Snipes, one of the things that we wanted to do, we weren't aspiring to get Oscars, and at that time we wanted an Audelco because that was the first award that supported and celebrated, if you will, Black theater technicians and actors. And everyone knew about it, in New York and the theater community, the Black theater community. So yeah, Audelco was, I received the award for Monsieur Baptiste, which was an adaptation of Molière's Tartuffe, you see. And that was Roger. He did amazing things in Harlem. And we did Rashomon in Harlem. I watched clouds descend on the stage because of this man's brilliance as a set designer, as a lighting designer, as a costume designer. And it was he that really gave me the model of how I approach theater today and how I believe in the power and the importance of community-based theater.
Now, everyone knows that you're a superstar comedienne and stand-up comic. In 1986, you won first place at Amateur Night at the Apollo Theater. And I remember seeing you when you opened for Roberta Flack on her 1986 tour. That's how old I am. You were hilarious. I can't believe that all these years later, I got to interview you on my show.
Oh my God, Roberta Flack is that's why when you ask the single, Roberta Flack, and I love her. And wherever you are, Mimi, I'm sending Susan, I'm sending you love, I'm sending you just a virtual love and hugs and kisses. She saw me actually and exercised the clause in her contract that allowed her to choose her opening act. And prior to meeting me, she'd never exercised that clause in her contract. But she really wanted to give me an opportunity to perform in that kind of audience and to be seen by that kind of audience. And ultimately, Oscar Cohen became a booking agent that would put me into venues such as that. But it was Roberta Flack that really gave me the opportunity. She saw me at a place called Small's Paradise in Harlem, where on Monday nights I was the draw, but I was really administrating at a theater, and that was my way of that was my kept me sane. Was on Monday nights I would go to Small's Paradise in Harlem on 7th Avenue, and she heard about me coming there and performing on Monday nights, and one day she brought some people to see me, and the rest, as they say, is history. I became her opening act. Yeah.
What made you gravitate towards comedy as an outlet for your talent? I mean, what is it that drives your sense of humor?
Comedy is probably the closest to who I am on a regular and consistent basis. What I am able to say on the stage as a comedian is really my thought atmosphere, just walking around, being in my body as Phyllis Stickney. It's how I found my place and made my place in my family. I grew up as the middle child. And so my sister was the baby. So it was, the baby, and the first one and the boy, yeah, hey, but me, the only way I could get that attention was to make them laugh. The way I could keep mama from giving me them extra licks with that belt, or maybe wouldn't get it out at all, was if I could make her laugh. And so it became my way of dealing with things. It became my way of making my place and taking things that were not always warm and fuzzy, making them palatable, things that were difficult for us to hear or difficult for us to accept. Things about, before there were Christian comedies, I was the clean comic because I never was profane. I wanted my mother to be able to come and see my show. But what you see in terms of my comedy is really my flight of consciousness. That's just how I think, how I show up in the world and how I think about the world. And then I learned that it was a tool that I could use. And once I learned that it was a tool that people would actually hear things, receive things that they may not hear or receive if I said it in a dramatic or serious way, but I could take something that was very, very serious and talk about it through the vehicle of comedy.
You played Cora, a single mother of 5 children in the ABC miniseries, The Women of Brewster Place. You co-starred with Robin Givens, Lynn Whitfield, Cicely Tyson, and of course, Oprah. What was it like working with that incredible ensemble?
Oh, well, first someone asked me, I love to work. Let me just say that. I love the work that I do, and I love the people that I'm able to do that work with and for. And so that was a history making piece. So I'm in the character, but I'm also in awe of the fact that, wow, this is Lynette McKee, this is Paula Kelly, this is Cicely Tyson. The cast was enormous. It was just an enormous project. And for me, it was my vindication because there was a producer on Different World who'd said that I couldn't act.
What?
Yeah, her name is Ann Beats. I'm not going to call her name, but her initials is Ann Beats. And Ann Beats, I'm talking about you now, boo-boo. I'm telling on you, boo-boo. I'm telling, okay?
She said you couldn't act?
Act. She said I could not act. And she said it in front of a live taping audience when we were, but she had liquid lunch. And so I think it was inspired by that liquid lunch that she was partaking of. And, but I had to swallow. I learned to swallow hard.
Well, I'm amazed because when I look at the roles you've played, you've shown tremendous versatility as an actress. In New Jack City, you played a brilliant prosecuting attorney. In What's Love Got to Do with It, you played Tina Turner's sister, Aline Bullock. In How Stella Got Her Groove Back, you played the tough mom, Mrs. Shakespeare. And you made television history by portraying an African-centered character on A Different World. I mean, anybody that thinks you can't act doesn't belong in the business. I mean, do you have a favorite role that you've played so far?
The one that's coming. My next role is always my favorite.
Really?
The one that's coming. That means I haven't done it yet. I've enjoyed each role, and I enjoyed each role for very different reasons. The Women of Brewster Place was my vindication. It proved to Ann Beats and anyone else who thought that because I didn't go to Juilliard or American Academy of Dramatic Arts, I didn't have that on my resume, but God gave me some amazing talents and gifts, and I try to utilize them as best I can. But it was, for me, the Women of Brewster Place was an amazing celebration, not only of Black women as actors, but we were behind the cameras as well. Miss Deutsch was the director. And it was important for her to direct that piece for personal and professional reasons, I'm sure. But for me, it was the fact that I got to meet Artist Lane. If you go back to that particular project, and at the beginning, there were portraits of each one of us that starts the movie. Well, those were actual portraits that were painted by the artist, the collectible artist, Artis Lane. And my experience, just behind the story was, or behind the scenes story, was that every day there'd be an actor that would be called upon to go and sit for Miss Lane. And I never was called to sit. And I was so excited to be a part of it. I didn't want to complain like, hey, where's my day? Make a long story short, at the end of the shoot, I got a call when we were wrapping. I got a call. When I answered the call, it was Miss Lane who asked me to come by the studio. When I went by the studio, she unveiled the picture of Coralie, Phyllis Stickney as Coralie. And I gasped. I said, but I never sat for you. And she said, they brought me tapes of the dailies. After we shoot every day, the producers get to see what our day's work was. And she said, I knew who you were in the first few seconds. Your character was so realized. I didn't have to sit with you. And so I own that portrait because of her. She made it possible for me to, at that time, I had not done as many films yet, but she made it possible for me to own that painting. And also the one with me as Coralie, and I'm holding one of the babies, and the sign says The Dead End. It's the iconic picture that fades in and out. So the behind the scenes are some of the most incredible stories. So for me, not only did I get to work with Oprah and Cicely and Paula, the late Paula Kelly, and Lynette McKee, and an amazing cast, but I got to meet this wonderful artist named Artist Lane.
Now, for all those Shameless fans out there, I have to mention that you played Veronica's Auntie Bev in the final season. What was it like to work with that incredible cast in one of the last episodes of this 11-season series?
It was so yummy. First of all, it was when I first debuted my silver. I stopped dyeing my hair, and because during the pandemic, it was just crazy. And then I had a call from a comedian who was like, come on, Ma, you were our first Black queen. You taught us how it felt to be Black and proud, and you were unapologetic, and man, you got to stop wearing the wigs. And I said, but my hair is gray. And he went, what? Rock it. They're going to love you. And so Shameless was the first time I wore my silver.
I think it looks great.
Thank you. I'm playing, I got to try different looks when I want to kind of just give my hair a rest, we braid her up and let other girls come out and play.
No, I love it. Now, Phyllis, I have to mention that you are the aunt of one of my favorite playwrights and filmmakers and my dear friend, Pichanda Dubose, who also appeared on our show. You must be so incredibly proud of her.
I mean, her whole story is, if anybody knows Pachanda, she's probably one of the hardest working women, and I'm just proud. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely proud of her and all the things that she's done. She has a new work out that's her new film, her short, that's doing very well on the circuits. And I'm just ready to do something with her. Hopefully I'll be able to do something soon with her.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, she's taking Hollywood by storm with her award-winning plays and her films, especially the new one, Maggie. Yeah. It's won 15 awards. I'm hoping to see you in one of her productions. Can you talk her into it?
Well, we got to work out the scheduling. It's really the scheduling, because now we're doing something very exciting in Arkansas, my birth state. We are just acquiring a studio, a building to convert or to reconfigure into a production studio. So we'll be making our own films. We'll have our own sound stages, our own green rooms, our ADR, our VR rooms. We'll be making all of our own stuff.
Oh, I think that's fabulous. And I think there will be an opportunity for collaboration. I just have a feeling.
Absolutely.
Now, Phyllis, we all know that Hollywood, like the rest of America, has been plagued with isms and isms and isms. Do you think the opportunities in Hollywood for people of color have finally started to improve in recent years?
I think the opportunities for people of color has improved a little bit. And I say a little bit because we still are expected to be, I'm richly melanated, so they're probably going to give me the role of a prostitute or a junkie or a welfare mom, as opposed to seeing me in some of the roles, as an ambassador or as whatever, anything. I can be anything. And I used to say that I can do anything but look white. And even now with special makeup, I can do that.
So, well, I know that one of your favorite mottos is not instead of, but in addition to. How do you see that philosophy playing out for Black artists in America?
Well, I think that, first of all, America has to embrace fully our story and not just want to celebrate or tell parts of the story. They just want to tell the one about slavery. Okay, enough of the slavery. All right, already. We have other things. We have amazing stories that have nothing to do with slavery. That's number one. Number two, I would love to be able to be cast as an African-American, as opposed to, here's one of my little things I do in comedy. As you notice, there's something changed about the way I'm speaking right now. Haven't you? You noticed, right?
Oh, yes.
Of course you've noticed a little bit. But what I do when I'm talking like this is I tell people, listen, right now, I'm bringing you all in on a secret, and everybody's got that pinky promise that you'll never tell my secret, all right? I am not ashamed of being an African-American, no. But I've got to be a Brit to play an African-American, so I'm just trying to get a role. So what's with the, America's always had this love affair with the British or the English accent, whatever. But I don't think that it's quite fair that be able to come and take every role, every leading role right now. It's like the Brits have taken over. And it's not that, if we say anything, if the actor says anything, it sounds like, it often sounds, oh, sour grape. She just, no, it's the fact that I can't go over to the pond and do the same thing.
Right. They're not hiring American Black actors to play British Black people. But American producers are hiring British Black people to play American legends like Aretha Franklin.
Harriet Tubman, and Messiah. I mean, I'll be doing my little podcast, truth be told, in a minute. So y'all can hear my real opinions about some of them. But listen, when I saw Messiah, Judas in the Messiah, and I said to people, I said, he's going to try to get the accent and he's going to make it hard to understand. So I think he's a wonderful actor. I just don't think that was the role. I think that many of them are wonderful actors, but I think maybe I have a different integrity. I would say, you know what? Let me bring you somebody who I think is perfect for that role. It's like Zoe Saldana playing Nina Simone. If she's Nina, I'm Lena, okay? Will they let me play Lena Horne? No, they wouldn't do that. So there's a couple things that America has to get at. Everybody isn't Carmel. Everybody isn't. We go the spectrum from the blackest of black to the white of whites. Don't pretend that I'm not here. So I think that America, and that's part of it. It's like, yeah, we get more roles, but are we getting different roles? Will Packer and a lot of other producers that are coming on board that are changing the game. The producers of Issa Rae, there's a lot of game changing that is happening. So I won't even pretend to sit here and say, oh no, things are just like they were. Yes, they have improved in terms of we are getting more opportunity. It just takes us longer to get those opportunities. And those opportunities are oftentimes very structured and very limited in what they are and where they can go. Hopefully, those things are changing. I do see some changes, but we'll see what happens once the world, quote unquote, opens back up.
Yeah, for sure. Very well said. Phyllis, you are an incredibly gifted playwright. In 1994, you wrote and starred in a one-woman show called Big Mama and Em, in which you played 5 different urban Black women in crisis, including the title character, Big Mama, who was inspired by your grandmother. Do you like being a storyteller as much as you like acting?
Yes, I do. I do. I am guilty. I love storytelling. There was something called The Voice. It was a celebration of African voice that was done curated by the Smithsonian. We performed for 1,084,000 people that weekend. It was Tony Blackman. It was Sonia Sanchez. It was the late Dick Gregory, myself. It was an array, and literally they asked each of us what was our, and so it was the set was a front porch, and we had big rocking chairs, and the stories they were extemporaneous. But I was talking about grandmama straightening my hair before I went to church on Sunday mornings. I love stories. I love the richness of our stories and our culture. So much of it that has just been touched. It has not really been. Like I said, we know our slavery legacies, but we don't know much others. We don't know the story about the lovely man in Pine Bluff, also, who married a woman of color. He was a Jewish man, and in his will, he said to the people, "This is my wife, although not by law, but by love." And it was just beautiful. He said, "I leave her everything." And those descendants are still living on that land today. These are stories that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the stories. We now know that the Lone Ranger was a brother.
Really?
America got to come on and fess up some of the things that you've been taking credit for. You should not have been taking credit for. They were not your stories. Yeah, I think things are changing, but I think that they can get a lot better.
Well, I want our viewers to know that Big Mama and Em is one of the plays included in the Black Comedy Anthology with interviews and essays published in 1997. And you won your second Audelco Award for your performance in that play. How many plays have you written, Phyllis?
Well, that have been performed, just that one, but thanks to Rajendra Ramoon Maharaj, who has now challenged me to get my words out there. I'm working on a couple of things now, actually. Something called For Black Girls Who Considered Murder, because suicide is not an option, which is my homage to Ntozake Shange's For Color Girls Who Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. I'm working on that. I'm working on something right now that deals with COVID and the vaccination. I like sci-fi thrillers, so it's a sci-fi thriller. And hopefully it'll be completed so that I can get it on stage somewhere soon or on the film somewhere.
I can't wait to see it. You directed the stage show Been There, Done That, starring Judge Greg Mathis and Fred Hammond, which had a tremendously successful 6-month tour. It was the first gospel stage play to have such incredible success. Does this mean we can expect to see you doing more directing in the future?
Absolutely. I took a little break because our mom, I have 4 siblings. Our mom transitioned, and when mommy transitioned, before that, I took 5 years to just kind of hang out with her and do as much as I could with her because I was that child that left home so early. But absolutely, I'm looking forward to directing. Actually, this October and November, I'll be directing something called Crew Up, where we'll be working with City of Arkansas or Little Rock's younger community or younger population. Crew Up will have them write it, cast it, and then shoot it. So in 8 weeks, they'll get an abbreviated experience of what filmmaking is and really about, and do a 5-minute short.
You're one of the most sought after motivational speakers in the country. You toured for many years as the keynote speaker with African American women on tour, and you've been a panelist with the annual empowerment seminars at the Essence Music Festival. What's the key message and the vision that you convey in your public speaking engagements?
That the laws of the universe apply even in Hollywood.
That the laws of the universe apply even in Hollywood.
And that you are in competition with you, not anyone else. You're who you have to excel for. You are it. You have everything that you need within you. You just have to mine it. You have to do the work to uncover it, to unveil it. But you are all you need if you do the work on you. And it is truly about doing the work. There's no hookup situation here. I call my babies the shortcuts, because everything they want to get there, just add water instant. Can we nuke it? Nope, there's a process. And respect the process. So that's
a great message. I'm not surprised that you're so sought after as a speaker, because that message resonates so powerfully with people who need some encouragement to find a path to feeling good about themselves.
You're it. You're the best thing. There's not another you. I tell people there's not another you. There's not, even if you got a twin, that's something different. That you got to find out what you came to the planet to do. What is it that God gave you, or that the ancestors gave you? What is it that you have that only you can do the way you can do it? Find out what that is. Find out what makes you sing, what makes your soul smile. Find out what is it that you want to do even if you didn't get paid for it.
I'm doing it right now, baby.
You found your magic. Everybody's got a little magic. You got to find out what it is. And for me, it's stop worrying about what the next person is doing. Especially us women, stop. Don't worry about what she got. Don't worry about what she looked like. Don't stop. Worry about you. You are the only competition you have.
You know, you're very, very deep. You wrote a book of poetry and personal reflections called Loud Thoughts for Quiet Moments, which was also released as a CD. Do you find, Phyllis, that writing has a therapeutic benefit to you as an artist?
Yes, writing keeps me from committing murder and suicide.
Well, thank God you write.
Because there'd be a whole lot of bodies, baby. There'd be a whole lot of bodies out there.
And on top of everything else you've done, I understand you created and designed a line of women's clothing for the Empress collection called Butter Baby. Is there anything you can't do?
Very little.
Really?
No. Oh, seriously. I mean, I'm a creative person. So if it's about creativeness or creation, I think that I can, I'm not a painter. I paint with fabric and style, I have a brother and I want to thank them. Some of the photographs that they sent were just incredible. My younger brother, Eric, is an amazing photographer. I don't have that, and painter. I don't have that gift. I paint with words. I paint with fashion and style and fabric.
And you paint as an actress and as a comic.
Yeah.
Because you create an authentic vision of a person that we believe.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to ask you now about your community work, because it's one of the many things I admire most about you. It's well known that you moved into a rundown apartment building in Harlem a number of years ago and almost single-handedly motivated the tenants to clean up the neighborhood and buy the building from New York City and convert it into one of the most desirable residential addresses in New York. That is just amazing.
I'm about to sell my unit now so that I can, I'm not retiring, but I just want to change the narrative a little bit. I want to change the background, the backdrop. And I've done what I can in New York. And when I saw Harlem changing, I decided my love affair was over and it was time for me to go home. But New York, there was a place on 7th Avenue called St. James Court. Renamed it its original name. There were Dr. Benjamin E. Mays, who was the president of Howard. One of his classmates was a doctor. There were about 4 doctors who had their practice in this particular building. I learned the history of things. I love to know the stories behind things, you know? And so when I learned that this was one of the grand old buildings of Harlem that had become a crack house, it was a place where ladies of ill repute would come to bring their little customers on the steps. The door was never locked. The elevator was a mobile toilet, so you get the picture. I saw a 4-bedroom apartment. I saw past that. I could see what Harlem once was and what she could be and should be again. And so I started the St. James Court Concerned Tenants Association, April 29th, 1997. I left my career in Hollywood, not thinking that I was going to have to do so, but in order for me to be the frontline person and the person to get the attention of those city people, I put myself out there. And it took me 7 years to do the work, to change the building, but now it's an amazing building. It's been completely gutted and rehabbed. And now there are people from all over the world that live there. That wasn't my vision, but I left after it became more about money. I was no longer the president. And when it became more about money than community, I knew it was time for me to relinquish my spot. But,
Yeah, a good choice. That's real estate, baby.
Yeah.
Phyllis, you're the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization called Alternative Careers in the Arts, which is an entertainment industry training program for at-risk youth in film, TV, and record production. What inspired you to start that foundation?
I was visiting my home state once, which I did every year, and I would always go to a middle school, not a high school, but I always find a middle school. Usually those children didn't know who I was quite yet. And there's still an innocence and a sense, and I could have a little anonymity and still watch them and not be watched. And I remember seeing hopelessness in the eyes of a 3rd grader. Hopelessness. And that was a thing that washed over me. How can this child be hopeless? They're so young. But because there were no opportunities, there was nothing for them to do. So I say to community leaders, I begin to speak and try to alternative careers in the arts. I tell them, I'm teaching you everything that has nothing to do with acting. When you watch the credit roll at the end of the film, that's what I'm preparing you to do. And hopefully you'll develop a marketable skill and never want to be an actor again. So that's what we do. We help them to develop a marketable skill. There's no longer certain trades are no longer in school. So when you see a community that is experiencing what I've witnessed and been in communities that are impoverished, not because of the spirit of the people, but when you break a person's spirit, that's generational. That's a generational curse. So my program is to break some generational curses, to disrupt the status quo and train those children and those people who would not have an opportunity to be employed in production to be employed in production. I came through a program called the Institute of New Cinema Artists. I had a decision to either pay to go to school or be paid to go to school. You know which one I chose.
Well, I love the fact that you feel an obligation as a successful woman to bring young people along with you and help develop their talents and their potential. Bravo, Phyllis. Bravo.
It's God. It's all God. It's the back to God movement for me. Back to God, back to good, because some people can't deal with God. So I put the back to good, and God is inside of that good, you know.
So what's the key to the longevity and the staying power that you've had in this industry?
I think for me, it's I'm not impressed with it all. I understand that it's a job. I understand that it's a blessing, and that I don't have to do this. I could wake up one day and not be able to remember a line. Something take away the little beauty that God thought I needed to have, a little something. Anything could happen. And so humility for me, I like a lot. I talk and have a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, I'm in awe of God's assignment in my life. And I walk through this life and going, oh my God, I cannot believe that happened. So I take seriously that I owe somebody, that I owe for the blessings and for, the enchanted life. I had a really, really bad time when my mom and transitioned. And I say really bad time emotionally. For the world, I showed up, but it made me check in with me in a different kind of way. And that checking in with me, and then my older brother transitioned within a year of that, it made me check in even deeper with myself and go, okay, so I'm looking at all these people doing things, and look at what Dick Gregory did with his life. Look what Bea Richards did with her life. Look what Maya Angelou did with her life. And all these people spoke into my life. They had expectations of me and what I was to do with these gifts and talents. So what I got was not just for me. What Ruby Dee gave me was not just for me. What Ozzy gave me was not just for me. It was for me to share, for me to get it, for it to register, for it to resonate, for it to become a part of my being, and then to go and share it with those who need to see me. There are people who need to see that a Black woman, or a richly melanated Black woman, can be successful without selling drugs or punani.
Well, Phyllis, I mean, you've accomplished so much in your life. You've received so many awards and accolades. You won the Ellie Charles Award for your contribution to society and the arts. You won the African Jewel Award and the Custodian of the Cultural Consciousness Award. You're in the Black Hall of Fame. You must be aware that you did take those gifts and those blessings and all those lessons that you've learned and really made yourself a legend. I mean, I don't even know what the next frontier is for you to conquer. I guess it's your new studio.
Yes, and because, and I'm sharing this, Phyllis Yvonne Stickney, IG, follow me. Because what's happened is now, because of the influencers, it's not about talent, it's about how many followers and likes that you have. And I really never surfed, I actually, the funniest part of the story and the truth is that I used to ask people, why do you want to be my friend? Anybody that would ask me to be my friend, Harvey, I would ask them, why do you want to be my friend? So I wasn't understanding, okay, we're just trying to get numbers. So I literally didn't accept people if they couldn't tell me why they wanted to be my friend. Because as I say in my comedy, I cannot have 5,000 friends. I have 5,000 potential stalkers.
Well, you've got a point there.
So it's real.
Ms. Phyllis Yvonne Stickney, I can hardly find the words to express my admiration and respect for all that you've achieved in your life and your career, and of course, my gratitude. Thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show. I've loved every minute of our conversation. I admire you so, so much.
Thank you, Harvey. I just want to thank you for, when Pachanda told me about it, I was, for a minute, it's taken me a minute to get back out into the world after Mommy and Randall transitioned, and I just felt so much responsibility. So when people like you are willing and interested in what I've done, I still think it's not enough. I haven't done enough. There's more that I can do. When I hear, like I said, I'm grateful for the things that I've done,
Well, I've only just scratched the surface in this interview. I can't wait to have you back on the show to celebrate all of the successes that you're going to have with your new studio. It has been an absolute joy to meet you. And again, I thank you. And I look forward to your return with more triumphant projects to promote.
Thank you. And I just say, I hear my publicist ear go, follow me. Tell them, don't forget to tell them to follow you. follow me on Instagram at Phyllis Yvonne or Yvonne Stickney. I'm also on Facebook, so like me so I can get my numbers up. And we're getting ready to do a show soon, a comedy show. We're going to try to figure out how, and Harvey, we're going to have it on this platform as well. So I'll be letting you know.
Yes, please do. And I will definitely share it with all our viewers. Our guest has been actress, comedienne, writer, director, and humanitarian Phyllis Yvonne Stickney. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to our producer, Steve Silver. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you.
Remember to subscribe to the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. And be sure to check out more great interviews with Harvey Brownstone on harveybrownstoneinterviews.com.